Hi there, readers and writers. My name is Miss Hodson, and I'm your virtual teacher. So welcome back. We started a new article yesterday, and we're going to move on with lesson 40 today. And our guiding questions remain the same. We're really looking at the changing adolescent brain and how things like technology, social media, sleep, nutrition, how all of those things affect the development of the brain and the outcome of the emotion of our brain as it applies to this week's topic. So specifically, how does social media apps, how do those apps affect our mood, affect our joy and happiness, or anxiety and depression? So it can go either way. I think it depends on what we're paying attention to and what that constant feed is into our lives. So as we get started on some close reading today, we're going to look at a couple of the article sections, not the whole article like we did yesterday. You're going to need these materials. And so you can pause the video, make sure you have the article from your distance learning packet, your digital packet that's actually printed. And then you'll need lesson 40 and your note catcher and a pencil. So pause the video. I'll wait here while you fetch your things. I'll see you in a minute. All right, we're going to get started. Our learning targets today there's a little nuance of the sameness from yesterday. This one says, I can cite several pieces of text-based evidence to support an informational text. So we're reading a news article, and that's an informational text. So we're going to draw some things out that specifically are evidence to answer some questions. Also, your second learning target is I can determine the theme or central idea of an informational text, specifically a section of a text. Okay, so we're actually going to give you some time to go back into the article, and today we're only going to read two sections, and you'll see the first heading on the first page. It is called Using Social Media to Determine Self-Worth. So that heading is on the first page at the bottom, and it goes into the second page. And then the second section we're going to read is Teens Should Stay Connected. So that's going to be your lens today, those two sections. You're going to think about things as you read about, oh, I'm going the wrong way. You're going to think about how social media distracts you from school or homework. Is it helpful or a distraction for you? And how do you see or feel if you are separated from your phone or computer for long periods of time? In the article, they talk about if it's separated from you or if it's taken from you. Sometimes this can be a form of punishment, or somebody takes the phone or you lose your phone. Does that cause you stress if you're disconnected from your group? So I want you to think about that as you read these two sections, okay? So they are called Using Social Media to Determine Self-Worth and Teens Should Stay Connected. I want you to think about those things. You can pause the video here for about 5 minutes, read those two sections of the article, and then we'll have a quick conversation and get into our writing time, where you'll do some evidence seeking. All right, pause the video. I'll see you in about 5 minutes. All right, after having done a little close reading of those two sections, I'd like you to now talk with someone in your family or a caregiver about how does social media influence a person's self-worth, how they feel about themselves. And why can social media create active community engagement? How does it do that? So it's important at any age in our lives, that we are activists and we are not just bystanders to what's happening around us, that we are actively engaged in promoting the best life for all people. So how does social media maybe help you be more active? So I would like you to just have that conversation, and we'll come back and get into our note catcher today. So you can pause the video and I'll see you in a minute. All right, in our note catcher today, I really want us to dig in around a few things. You've seen a note catcher like this with me before. It's looking at just those two sections, and you will be able to lift out the evidence you need to answer the questions on this note catcher. The first one says, what are the biggest challenges for teenagers around the use of social media? What are the biggest challenges? So you will find that in one of those two sections. You write your evidence right in that little box. The second question says, how can teenagers balance their connected, how can teenagers balance their connection to social media without unplugging completely? So how can you balance that out? And I think maybe there's a typo in that. I'm surprised. How can teenagers balance their connection, it should be connection, I think, to social media without unplugging completely? So people can get kind of testy if they lose track of their phone, or especially if someone takes it from them, and it gets very emotional fast. So for some, maybe not everybody. The third question, how does social media connect communities during difficult times, and give some examples of this? So they gave a couple of very strong examples in the article itself, and I'm wondering if you have even more examples of that today, even now. I mean, these other movements are not very old in the past. They're not ancient history for sure. So are you maybe also following some social media movements? Think of 3 ways. This is your fourth answer. Think of 3 ways that social media can support your community during a time of crisis. So think of challenges in your community today and ways that social media might be able to help, maybe with communication or with getting supplies to people. So there are lots of ways that we could do this through our schools or through our churches and our community. So think about that. And you just write a few things down. Can't go wrong. Any idea you have is perfectly great. Then you will, in your last space, write a summary sentence about how social media can benefit your community during a time of crisis. So how could we use social media to feed people's hearts and their minds, and to provide information and critical knowledge during a time of crisis? So that's really a summary sentence, pulling everything together about social media and how it can benefit during a time of crisis. So take about 10 or 15 minutes, pause the video, and then come on back and we will get started on our closing. Okay, fantastic. So really reflecting on how you use any social media apps would be a fascinating conversation. I think people of different ages are interested in social media. I notice a lot of the young kids in my family are on a lot of photo, Snapchat, and Instagram, and they pay attention to, like, if they post themselves doing something, like how quickly people respond to that. And I don't know that they really get upset if they don't get as many like record-breaking likes as another photo, but to some degree, when I read this article, I'm like, oh, I think my kids or my nieces and nephews, I think they probably have some of this going on in their lives. And then there are other things like maybe just sharing music and, you know, a new release of something or activism. Someone is doing something important and we're following them. I follow a lot of people. We've talked about this on Twitter, Instagram. I want to see what's going on and who's doing what. Not from a mission critical standpoint, but just from a general interest. I'm really interested in how people spend their time in making a difference, making the world a better place. So go ahead, and what we're going to do is pause, make sure you've got that filled in, and then we'll finish our lesson. Okay. All right. Hopefully you have a lot of great ideas. And what we're going to do is just make sure that you can tie the knot on both of these learning targets today, that we have text-based evidence in those first 3 sections, and that you have a list of things in the 4th section, and then a summary statement and that central idea from the informational text in that final box today. So thanks for your hard work. You should share this good work with people that you've been talking to in your family and around on the topic, maybe other students in your class. And hopefully you're reading something fun on the side. I would love to be able to capture some of the things that you're reading that you're finding make a difference in your life. And your fluency practice today is just to ask an adult to read the text to you and follow along, and then practice reading the text at least a couple of times. This is how we improve our fluency. And that might seem like a real hassle for everybody, but I really do believe it makes a difference. So I'm hoping that that'll work out. And I will see you back here very soon. We'll do our next lesson. It'll be lesson 41. And I hope you make it a great day. I will see you soon.